Well, it's 5:18 here in the UK, and if you're wondering why I'm up this early making videos on YouTube, you'll see why in a moment. I've been following the story of the Gaza aid ship, the Madleen, and I wanted to see what happened. So I went up and had a doze for a couple of hours, and I came back. At 2:15, from 3 hours ago, Freedom Flotilla Coalition accuses Israel of forcibly intercepting the Madleen. It says at 3:02 a.m. CET, the ship was unlawfully boarded, its unarmed civilian crew abducted, and its life-saving cargo, including baby formula, food, and medical supplies, confiscated. To add to this whole situation, and we'll call it that, we have an MEP on board in the form of Rima Hassan. So the Israelis are impounding members of political parties. And Rima Hassan is also, of course, a Palestinian and might be described in some respects as a child of the Nakba. And 10 minutes ago from The Guardian, who seem to be doing a fair bit of updating on this, here is a bit of a background on the aid situation in Gaza. Israel is facing mounting international pressure to allow more aid into Gaza after a more than 2 month total blockade led to widespread shortages of food and basic supplies. It has recently started working with the newly formed US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to distribute aid via a handful of centres in South and Central Gaza. But humanitarian agencies have criticised the GFH, and the United Nations refuses to work with it, citing concerns over its practicing neutrality. Dozens of people have been killed in the GF distribution point since late May, according to Gaza's Civil Defence Agency. It said Israeli attacks killed at least 10 people on Sunday. And here's a summary from 38 minutes ago. It is 6:40 a.m. in Israel, where activists on board a Gaza-bound aid ship have reportedly been transported to an Israeli port after they were intercepted at sea by the country's navy. Here's the latest. Israeli forces intercepted the Madleen after it tried to break a naval blockade of the Gaza Strip and detained its crew of 12, including activist Greta Thunberg. Of course, she's the most famous person on board, but as I know, French MEP Rima Hassan. The British flagship, which is operated by the pro-Palestinian Freedom Flotilla Coalition, FFC, was aiming to deliver a symbolic amount of aid to Gaza. The FFC said the boat was boarded during the night before it could reach shore. In a post online, the organisation said the ship was unlawfully boarded, its unarmed civilian crew abducted, and its life-saving cargo included baby formula, food, and medical supplies confiscated. The Israeli Foreign Ministry has confirmed the Madleen was under Israeli control and making its way to the shores of Israel. Adding that its passengers are expected to return to their home countries, returning to the aid vessel as a selfie yacht. How condescending. The ministry said all passengers are safe and unharmed, and that the aid on board will be transferred to Gaza through real humanitarian channels. Color me cynical. I expect it will never reach anyone. Early on Sunday, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz ordered the military to prevent the Madleen from reaching Gaza. The United Nations Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in the Palestinian territories, Francesca Albanese, said she had been in touch with Madleen before the communication had been lost. Madleen's journey may have ended, but the mission isn't over. Every Mediterranean port must spin boats with aid and solidarity to Gaza, she wrote next. Well, I'm not sure what to say at the end of it all. Israel seems to be rapidly trying to turn itself ever more into a pariah state and self-isolating. Now, of course, nobody out there, I think, supports the terrorist activities of Hamas. But in the same way as if during the Troubles, the British army had suddenly decided to go around and shoot hundreds of Irish people, it would have been considered a less than legitimate response. The response seems to be a bit bloodletting here. As it was, if I press the Troubles analogy further, the number of people the British Army killed, which was in the, if you want to look at it, in the lower hundreds, some of whom weren't terrorists, caused enough problems and tension. Whereas in Gaza, we're into the tens of thousands of people dead. There's no way that can ever be forgotten. There's no way it won't breed another generation of hate on both sides. And with people like Netanyahu in charge and politicians that seem to be becoming ever more extreme on either side, and it looks like it will just carry on rumbling on. As it stands, around 4 to 5% of the population of Gaza is dead. What will it reach is 10 to 20%? Will people admit that it is moving towards being a genocide if it's not already one then? Or will people try and pretend it's not? It certainly seems like there's no end in sight to it.